It's endless. We're
Fuck,
not
we're
gonna do
duped.
anything.
Shadows on the
Same here,
game.
like 1% structure.
Everybody, if you can get out. Jesus fucking Christ.
Across half a decade, you may have followed our adventures in New Eden. You may also have seen, as we have, that the virtual world is changing. You may remember, too, that Rooks and Kings is an entity dedicated to the fight of the few against the many. And you may ask, where does that path take someone? Over the past 5 years, we have watched the civilization of New Eden grow around us. We have seen the fleets of hundreds turn into fleets of thousands, and the myriad of isolated conflicts drift into vast struggles between opposing power blocks. This is not a complaint. I look out upon our foes and see so much to admire in the organization and orchestration of the largest forces ever assembled in online gaming. This is a story of the length to which a small group can and will go to survive in that world, without changing their nature or purpose. That is our mission. But let's turn back the clock a little. The factories and shipyards of the Nullsec empires churned out hull after hull to arm their vastly expanding forces. Political cooperation and industry combined to make fleets and forces grow in a manner that was once unthinkable. Much of 2011 and 2012 saw us in an arms race to negate some of the numerical advantage of opposing fleets. To combat the numbers, we relied increasingly on the Golden Fleet. This doctrine centered around the Apocalypse Navy issue, an expensive faction battleship possessing exceptional damage projection, and that when combined with high-grade slave implants, had the heaviest tank of any battleship, and thus buying the most possible time for repairs to land. Put simply, their ships got more, so our ships had to get stronger. The principle is simple. If the hostile ships were dying, but our repairs were landing in time and our ships were not dying, then no matter the numbers, we'd eventually win. With Vindicator battleships to provide heavy tackling, short-range damage and to hold targets still for dreadnoughts, and garnished with Balgorns to conduct capacitor warfare, the Golden Fleet was well-rounded and able to deliver decisive victory after victory, even with our limited numbers. But two concerning emerging trends were identified. The first was that gradually as the enemy fleets grew ever larger and their combined alpha strike against our targets became stronger, we soon had to accept some level of attrition, as initially some of our expensive faction battleships would be volleyed off the field before we could cull the incoming damage to a manageable amount. For the time being, the situation was still very manageable, but the writing was on the wall. For whilst the hostile fleet had no limit in size, we were already approaching the maximum effective hit points that could be squeezed out of a ship of the era. The second concern was that the Nullsec empires of Eve were by now learning these arts, and becoming very good at them. They understood now very well what a huge logistic wing could mean to a fleet. They too became practiced in cross-refitting triage to withstand extreme damage, and they knew the value of massed Archon groups. Nor could their economic might be underestimated. Whilst Rooks and Kings had enjoyed the risk and glamour of flying absurdly expensive fleets of ships against the odds, gradually the Technetium moon empires of nullsec space allowed them to do the same, on a massive scale. By the summer of 2012, this trend would manifest as the largest coalition in the game at the time, the Honey Badger Coalition, flying the same Navy Apocalypse battleship as we did, for one of their stock doctrines. Essentially, the performance lead of our highly specialized fleet over those of the vast armadas of nullsec was getting smaller, and the gulf between our fleet sizes was getting larger. They say necessity is the mother of invention, and as a consequence of the changing battlefield, we had increasingly found the value of striking quickly and decisively. For their part, hostile fleets had learned the extent of extreme logistic tactics, and would correctly retreat and call for reinforcements if they found our heavy tanked ships were not breaking. Among our enemies, fast, long-range ships were also increasingly in fashion, and often proved well placed to escape from the fight if we gained the upper hand. To address these things, our new area of expertise had become to control the battlefield via interdictor bubbles. As pilots will know, these warp bubbles can drag an enemy fleet from the end of their warp path to a specific point in space. Titan-class vessels are used to bridge fleets across systems, and had long since become our preferred method of entry to the battlefield. Once dragged to the edge of the interdictor bubble, the hostile fleet would fall prey to the grasp of Vindicator webifiers and the full power of capacitor warfare as we arrived through the Titan bridge. Once you have your enemy where you want him, even a massive numerical force can be overcome, and the Golden Fleet was well placed to bring the hammer down. But having become obsessed with different kinds of interdictor tactics, I came to wonder how much more force we could leverage with such control of the battlefield. Smart bombs are an area of effect weapon that come in all flavor of damage types. They had long been particularly popular in low-sec space to apply damage quickly to ships moving across the system, and even on occasion to larger groups of ships doing the same. Indeed, the danger of the fast, untargeted smart bomb damage has become a trademark of systems like Ransom. And yet, what if the real potential lay in smart bomb use against the fleets of nullsec space, where interdiction bubbles can be launched? The intricacies are many, but imagine the Titan as a massive gun, like the railway artillery of old, or a weapon built into a mountainside. Titans have doomsdays, but what if its real superweapon is simply its portal generator and we are the ammunition? That is to say, our ships themselves, built as dedicated smart bombs, become the rounds fired by the Titan cannon onto the enemy fleet. 20 people may not go a long way in where New Eden is heading, but 20 battleship caliber rounds ought to do plenty. And just like the armored vehicles of bygone eras carefully selected their ammunition types, so we too would select the smart bomb damage type that the hostile fleet was weakest against. Of course, being area of effect weapons, we would damage each other too, but since we know what damage type we'll be doing, we can fit the ship, and indeed choose our ship type, for an extreme resistance against precisely that damage. If you set out to make a ship in EVE do one specific thing, you can make it do that thing very well, and this is very much the case if you build a ship to have an extreme resistance to one damage type, at the expense of all others. This means the hostile fleet will be dead before we are, and dead before they can deliver any damage to us in all the flavors we are untanked against. The trinity of interdictors, smart bombers and titans needed a name. After I outlined the plan, Ram suggested calling it pipe bombing, and we thought, why not? Of course, new weapons need testing, and testing needs test subjects. Although there are innumerable occasions where nothing of the fleet's perspective is known, enough spy recordings, streams and fraps exist to piece together the puzzle and tell the story of the early days of pipe bombing. The Red vs. Blue Ganked Rome is a regular and highly successful event where pilots from all manner of alliances put aside their differences and hunt through dangerous territory in a large fleet. The first pipe bombing test destroyed a fleet of theirs. A few weeks later, another large fleet of theirs emerged, this time with an Armarian battlecruiser theme.
The line for X-Tac B.
There's a bubble sitting here on the X-Tac B gate.
Right on it.
So I'm about 10 off.
Alright, that's
But it's not like it's not an anchored one, it was a ship-made one.
Yeah, there was a saber. Hannah something.
Well, we're gonna land in it. So. Oh, that's
No,
too
you're not-
late, I've just walked us.
You shouldn't land on it, you should just about avoid it. I say just about, it's on the other side of the gate.
That's Rooks and Kings.
Mic check.
Mic check, mic
Check.
check. Rooks and Kings, Rooks and Kings, Rooks and Kings. Bang.
Dominic's is the primary, Dominic's is the primary, Dominic's
What's
is the
this?
primary.
Where?
Where we are,
Everyone on the dummy, everyone on the dummy, everyone on the dummy.
This is a black box interlude, where we shall occasionally look into the minds of those on their way to death. And so it falls upon me to point out that there is no Dominics. However, the sheer enthusiasm and blind devotion with which the second fleet member takes up the chant has led to the phrase, everything on the dummy, becoming a saying in R&K to signify blind courage and duty in the face of, well, anything.
Rooks and Kings, bang.
Dominic's is the primary, Dominic's is the primary, Dominic's
What's
is the
this?
primary.
Where?
Dominic's is the primary.
Where we are,
Everyone on the
warfare.
dummy, everyone on the dummy, everyone on the dummy.
Shut up, comms.
Evil Ian is a warp out point of attack on the gate if you need one.
So what are we exactly warping into?
Rooks and Kings and smart bombings. Smart bombing BS.
Oh, right, lots of them.
Yes. Oh shit,
All my balls are broken.
Just bail.
There's attack if you need to bail on the gate.
No one's gonna call Premier?
No, there's a fuck ton of them smart bombing. Bail.
Back.
What? No, because nobody fucking told me this was there as I was walking. They just said, oh, there's a fucking...
Bucky the cloaky decloaked and dropped a sign, oh bang. Very slick.
Yeah, right after I walked us.
On the capsule, see you guys onto the life.
I landed right in the fucking bubble. All I heard was, oh, there's a bubble 10k off the gate. So, right, we're gonna land in it. And the next thing you know, there's fucking whatever on comms.
Do you remember a few ganks ago when there was a bubble just 10k off the gate?
Yeah, but there was Kader and a fucking Saber and another Cloaky and shit.
Balls, Simonpoinen.
That was fucking hilarious.
Where are you?
We just died.
I'm in Jossamento.
We were in Poitop.
Structure.
Are there any survivors?
No.
Yeah.
You did the quiz.
Oh, upgrade your clones.
I was in a boat going around on corpse. It was kind of tricky before I went to the port.
I literally saw the light.
I died, then
At the end
loaded
of the
grid
tunnel.
in a clone
It
to
was
see
fun.
myself stuck next to this tempest. Then I ended up back in my clone.
That was pretty badass.
It was pretty laggy.
So what, did
Remember,
they just
guys,
drop a
only
smart bomb
post the
battleship gang
kills
on you?
on the ganked board. Don't post your losses or anything, just your kills. So obviously don't post anything that just happened. I'm sure Rooks and Kings will make a video of that one.
Because large RVB roams are an event, and one that we hold in high regard, we elected not to use a weapon of this kind again on their fleet. Instead, our attention switched to the region of Syndicate, though pipe bombing proved overkill for the smaller local fleets, as you see here in this strike on a heavy assault cruiser and Tech 3 gang.
Sign up, sign up, sign up.
Bridges up, bridges up.
The weapon's primary purpose became to deliver an occasional hammer blow, when our very heavy conventional fleet was simply limited by how many hostiles we could actually hold on to. By now, people had learned the extent of the tanking power of cross-fitting triage, and were less likely to stick around. And yet, all the time we eyed the swelling fleets of the nullsec empires, for a day when their growing list of allies, faster response times, and indeed rising excellence, would make it harder for a small group to regularly deploy the Golden Fleet against them, and when we'd have to introduce them to a new weapon. As 2012 progressed, one ambitious local group called Pure Madness became increasingly embroiled in skirmishes with the CFC coalition to the north of Syndicate, especially in the region of Cloud Ring. The role of local troublemakers against the big boys was one they inherited from an alliance called Ares Protectiva, and as we had done with Ares in the year before, we assisted Pure Madness in their battles against the numerically larger coalition forces. This mainly took the form of using the Navy Apocalypse as a powerful laser-based platform against the CFC shield doctrines, and here smart bombing was mainly limited to the more traditional role of firewalling the incoming missile streams of the Drake-based armies. That era in the spring of 2012 also included perhaps our last hurrah for modern versions of Clarion Call 2's Pantheon doctrine, which we used to suppress the newly buffed marauding dreadnought fleets, before 30 Archons and a few supercapitals were no longer a significant number, and the torch for massed Archon carriers passed over to the coalitions, who could field enough Archons to volley enemy support off the field with sentry drones. And then, in early summer 2012, CFC coalition member Fatal Ascension deployed to Syndicate. Whilst the Golden Fleet was still our primary weapon, given their larger fleets we decided to once again mix some more pipe bombing in among the doctrines deployed. A few of these strikes were recorded from both sides, and so we moved to the system of K5JRD. In this era, Eldorath could still stand openly in plain sight, waiting for the targets. No armies of alts or elaborate methods, just Eldorath with a lance in his hand on the outgate. Whilst there is no video feed, a SoundCloud audio recording of the events thereafter still exists, and so we joined them on that fateful mission.
Eldorath, Rooks and Kings.
Eldorath's on the 8V gate. Check on the 8V gate. Outbound, Eldorath's in a Saber, about 20 kilometers off, and an Anathema.
Okay, we'll kill Eldorath then.
I just jumped into 8V.
User left your channel.
Wow.
Who's in warp to this gate?
Wait, that's a small hot drop.
Yeah, it's not a big hot drop at all.
That's a good trap.
Unless it's a trap. Oh!
It's a smart bomb trap.
Shit!
Damn it! Oh, jeez, I barely managed to warp in there.
8V is clear.
No!
Really?
Got out, instructor. Whee!
Really?
What the
It's all
fuck?
smart browns, that's skill.
That's what they always do, I suppose.
Fucking
Holy shit. I just...
get out of there. What the fuck?
I'm at range.
I did not see. Luckily, this is all reimbursable, so. What the fuck?
Yeah,
Really?
they used to do this. They drop a drag bubble and then just sino in smart bombs at the edge of the bubble where everyone lands.
That sucks.
Who died?
I survived, it's just a battle.
Yeah, so...
Warp to station. Warp to station.
That was
I
not
can't believe that just happened.
What just happened?
By the time of this next recording, the hostile fleet was very familiar with what had happened, and what was going to happen, and indeed it even acquired the skills of a man we call the expert, to explain what was happening while it was happening.
Want to go with it again?
Might as well. So
One tornado landed.
I'm decloaked.
Drop it.
Sign it down.
Saber on the S6.
Sino. Sino.
Yeah, looks me.
Sino on the station. Oh, Sino on the gate.
Here we go.
Where's the Sino? On the gate.
Oh, not more smart bombs.
You know what's gonna happen?
It's gonna be there.
To burn when you land, burn away.
Just battleships.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a
smart
bombing battleships. It's a pipe.
Burn away.
How many? Enough. Jump through.
Just jump through the gate.
It's gonna be a drag bubble.
Smart bomb.
Oh, I got botted.
Burn back. Yep.
Gone. Yeah, we got you.
Fuck! Get reps, burn. Jump through. Don't engage, jump through.
So near, yet so far. The order is to jump the gate, but the interdiction bubble has pulled them just out of reach.
Sprint, jump through. Don't engage, jump through. We're on to the gate. There's a pipe bomb. We're not far. We're very close.
4.98 from gate.
Shit.
I'm gone.
Damn, potted.
Wow.
Shit.
That's so donkey cock.
Pipe on us.
What the hell was that?
There's a pipe
A
bomb.
bunch of cunts is what that was.
That's beautiful as well, that was.
Yeah.
Very well done.
That was perfectly executed, yep.
Absolute classic.
They placed the juicy Macarial for us to walk to. They had a bubbler cloaked. As soon as the Macarial was pointed, they were on the Titan ready to go. As soon as that Sino went up and I was like, ooh, Sino, let's go. We're all in warp to the gate anyway. And they're pulsing, I think it's 14,000 DPS from those 10 battleships. And then they'll have a triad carrier standing by ready to jump in a couple of seconds if we get down.
The faint call of a survivor is heard in the background, but is flattened by the expert's faith in our ruthless efficiency. The reality was a little different, for the ever-helpful Goldsnake had been handing out ships to a number of less prepared people, and in his generosity forgot to keep his own. At the last minute someone passed him a ship from stocks which was unrigged, leaving him perilously close to death.
Alright, stop. I'm gonna die soon. Stop. Stop, dive. Stop.
Shoot, launch drones.
As a result, we have to stop the pipe bombing early and attempt to finish off the mutilated survivors with drones. Luckily, this goes unnoticed amid the veritable fountain of the expert's dark knowledge.
Nobody talk. X up with what you lost.
Jesus.
One more to your station now.
Fucking hell.
Yowza.
I didn't know there was a drug bubble there. Fuck.
Drag bubble was cloaked. They were waiting until they saw us align into the gate, uncloaked, popped the sign out, then they jumped in. They were on grid before we even landed, start bombing, ready to catch the lead ships and scam. It's a standard tactic from Rooks and Kings.
That was fucking sexy, honestly.
Yeah, very clever.
And they'll have at least 2 triage carriers ready to come back in on that Sino in case something bigger lands on top of their smart bombing battleships.
From your channel.
As well as obviously the Titan if they really do get stuck. And they'll also have the single channel open to them. They'll have someone in there so know exactly where we are at any of their own people because that is screamingly. Yeah, they only use faction battleships or anyone obviously, but really good stuff for it because of the extra tank it gives them, the extra CPU for the smart bombs, it gives them a full rack of aim. That should start ringing alarm bells.